everyone, and welcome back to the Joy-Filled Universe podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ryan, and today I just have to share the incredible energy that I experienced probably about 2 weeks ago now, maybe more like a week and a half. But if you can believe it, it is still such a vibe for me, and that vibe is all about peace. Or should I say, it's all about inner peace, because it's the inner peace within us that actually brings us to a state of mind every day that just feels safe and loving and comforting and all of those wonderful, great vibes that give us the ability to just live our best lives. So if you haven't heard, please allow me to share this incredible story. So last October, about 19 Buddhist monks embarked on a pilgrimage called the Walk for Peace. And the purpose of this pilgrimage, if you will, was promoting inner peace and compassion and nonviolence, unity and healing. And these monks were literally walking, some even barefoot, by the way, from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. here in the United States of America, which that journey is about 2,300 miles or 3,700 kilometers. And these monks, for most of their journey, walked in a single file line and largely in silence. They would stop every now and again along their way too, and they would offer like peace talks and even give like little gifts like these peace rope bracelets or flowers. It was just so sweet. So when they arrived here in Washington, it was on February 11th, or at least it might have been the day prior, but either way, when I got to see them, it was on February 11th, and they were making like their final trek to the Lincoln Memorial. And what was absolutely an experience that I was just not prepared for was the incredible energy level of peace that just washed over me when the monks walked past. And I know that I wasn't the only one who felt it, because it was like everyone around me, both friends and strangers, suddenly all felt like we were friends. And I looked at this one lady who was standing next to me and I said, "This is just so special, right? Don't you feel, isn't it just so incredible?" And as I said it, I felt my eyes just starting to well up with tears. And at the same time, this woman was looking at me and she was getting all misty-eyed too. And she said, "Yeah," she's like, "I just feel so happy." And I think that was just such a profound moment, because the fact was that this walk, it stood out as a quiet, powerful counterpoint to strife, which in turn just inspired so many people, because its emphasis was on embodied practice over protest, which also brings me to a thought around Mother Teresa, because it has been told that she said something like, "I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations, and I said, I will never do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace demonstration, I'll be there." And with these two examples between the monks and Mother Teresa, doesn't it just make so much sense? When we talk about manifesting abundance and peace and love and good energy and good health, all of those really super wonderful things, as we talk about manifesting them into our realities, one of the main practices is focusing on what we do want, and also that what we resist persists. So, for example, if we are having like an anti-war rally, we are putting all of our energy on not wanting war, and the universe responds to where we are putting our energy. And in this case, that focus is ultimately on war, even if we're saying we don't want it. However, if we are focused on pro-peace, well, the universe will respond to our direct energy, which is going towards peace. And the monks were clearly focused on peace. Every step of their journey literally had everything to do with peace, which is why they walked in silence. They were practicing mindfulness and staying in the present moment, in their now. So as the monks made their way and they stopped here and there along the way and they would give their little talks, they, in my opinion, were conveying lessons about peace, which I loved. And so I had gathered as many of these messages and tidbits that I could find for today's episode. And I figured I'm just going to share some of them with all of you. So that's what we're going to do today. We are focusing on peace. So before we get started, I also just want to say that inner peace is not the absence of chaos. Rather, it is the ability to remain centered in the presence of it, right? It's not about not having any chaos in our lives, but we can stay centered in it, how we respond to it versus react to it. Inner peace is not checking out of the world. Rather, it's checking in to ourselves. It's deciding that no external circumstance can get to hijack our internal state without getting our permission to do so first. And the practices that we are going to talk about today are aligned with helping us to firm up our connection and our awareness with our own inner peace. And with that, I'm going to get started with the first one I have here. And oh, by the way, they're in no particular order. They are just the collections of those that I've kind of gathered together, and they're the ones that I feel stood out most for me. So the first one is that peace begins from within. The walk's leader, the leader of the line of the monks, the line leader, I guess I should say, he emphasized that peace isn't something external that we can force upon the world. Rather, it is something that starts inside of every person. And when we cultivate inner peace, it then ripples outwards, which is just so true because we are all energetic beings. So when we show up with peaceful energy, we naturally radiate that out into our environment. And we can't create peace externally if we are connected and focused upon our inner worlds that are chaotic and unsettled. So if we're connected to that, there's no way that we can then radiate out any kind of peaceful energy because we're too caught up and we're actually letting those feelings of chaos and feeling unsettled, we're letting that define us. So we're not finding that inner peace, it's actually being blocked. So I believe the core message here is that inner regulation precedes outer harmony. We have got to create our own inner peace before we can have a peaceful impact on those around us. And the next practice is all about mindfulness and meditation. The monks practiced and taught a type of meditation that is a form of mindfulness that focuses on breath and awareness of the present moment. And they also encouraged people who came to see them to use mindfulness and forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others in our daily lives, just for the sake of reducing reactivity and suffering. And the core message that I got from this practice is the value of observing our thoughts without becoming them. How peaceful our world would become when we practice being conscious observers, right? Observing our thoughts and keeping them separate from our spirit is truly being aware. Also, I'm going to say the power of forgiving ourselves. They kept saying, let go of past experiences that have been haunting us. We can't change them, but we can observe them. And by being compassionate to ourselves, we can forgive ourselves and then let go of what is not serving our highest good. So we aren't resisting thoughts of past or anxious concerns about the future. Rather, we are observing them, not embodying them, and then we are letting them go. And I so agree with this. In fact, I think I had even mentioned this before when we spoke about the Sedona method. I absolutely strive to be the conscious observer of my thoughts every day, most especially when days can feel kind of heavy. And I am also learning to forgive myself because I feel that holding on to past experiences that we cannot change does nothing for us other than keeping us stuck in the past, focused on what we don't want, and likely not forgiving ourselves, and in turn, just spiritually torturing ourselves rather than loving and being kind and forgiving with ourselves. Yet, if we can become better at these things, how truly peaceful our lives could be. All right. Another practice was the one that I actually really, really loved. And this one was a daily peace affirmation. This one is just so simple. And the monks shared this affirmation routinely. And it was, today is going to be my peaceful day. And what they said is when you get up in the morning, before you reach for any digital devices, before you have any kind of conversations with your partners or your family, and even before you turn on the news, grab a piece of paper and a pen and sit down and write, today is going to be my peaceful day. And then read it internally and then read it out loud. And when we do this, we are telling the universe that this is what we expect. And the only one who can mess it up is going to be us. But the more we do it, the more we will begin to truly believe that we can and will have the most peaceful day. In fact, we are training our minds to be present and to live in the present moment, which is peaceful. So let go of the thoughts and memories that disrupt our peace. Just let them go and live into the peace that we deserve. All right, the next one, I really love this one too. Okay, I love this one too. Actually, I love all of them. Okay, so the monks said, when you brush your teeth, clean the mirror right away, which I believe was a metaphor for when unfavorable things happen in our lives. Or as they had said, when the world throws lemons at us, they said, don't record it. Let it go right away. They said, if someone bumps into you or cuts you off in traffic or says something unkind, respond with, may you be well, happy, and peaceful, and then walk away, rather than giving them, as they said, bullet eyes, which is just so cute. And we all know what bullet eyes are, don't we? I'm going to say I probably do. Even though I'm not looking in the mirror when I give them, I know what they are. So the point then to this practice is this. By offering a peaceful sentiment, this is a way that we can just clean our minds, because the mind is the mirror that they spoke of. And the more we allow spots to collect on it, the less we will be able to see our true selves. So we have to keep our mind clean. Don't record it with the lemons that life might be throwing at us. In fact, just let it go. And we can even wish ourselves to be well, happy, and peaceful, because there's sometimes that we are casting our own lemons on ourselves. So taking the time to even wish ourselves to be happy, well, and peaceful, it can make such a difference. All right. Another thing that I really appreciated was the interfaith unity and inclusive messaging that they shared. And so at many of their events, even the one that was like at the Washington National Cathedral, the monks spoke about peace as something that transcends religions and cultures, bringing people from different faiths together in shared peace. And honestly, while these monks were doing their walk, people along the way were not all super supportive and kind. In fact, there were some that would yell things at them, they would honk their horns, and they would even bring signs to protest them as well. So not everyone was just super warm and welcoming and really happy to see them. Yet thankfully, a majority were, but there were some that were not going to support this very sweet display of peace. And I'm just going to say that there was, I think it was a reel on Instagram that I had seen where they were doing their walk, and the lead monk at one point had stopped to engage a man who was protesting their walk, largely because it was not aligned to his religion. And what I loved was that monk didn't try to sway the man. He certainly didn't try to convince him in any way to see his perspective or anything like that. Instead, he was grateful for the fact that the man showed up just to see them. And he accepted the man's messages, and he said something like, "We are both on our own journeys. We both get to have our own journeys, and I respect your journey just as I respect my own, and may you be well, happy, and peaceful." That alone resonated so deeply for me because it can be applied to just so many areas of our lives. And I, for one, am always wanting to help people. And sometimes I might have lived a certain experience or perhaps can see around a certain corner where someone else might have a blind spot. So I want so badly to help that person. And I even do this when I'm coaching, which is probably one of the hardest parts for me when it comes to working with clients, because it is not for me to give someone my opinion of what they should do. I can help them explore for themselves. However, the decisions they make, the ideas that they have, all belong to them. And lots of times they even come up with thoughts and ideas that I would have never thought of. So the point being, which I also believe is what the monks were trying to relay here as well, is that we are all on our own journey. So rather than trying to get others to align to our journey, find peace in knowing that they are living their lives, just like we are living ours. And that is their right. And we get to respect that because we would expect the same in return. And now the other thing here is that the monk mentioned when talking about many religions, they said they never talk about religions because it really doesn't matter when it comes to inner peace. They said that they respect all religions because they all promote living into being better people, along with supporting others in our society. They stress that we have different backgrounds, we practice what we believe, and our teachers are largely teaching people how to be good. And what I love is that they said, in the end, we do happen to have one religion in common, and that is love and kindness, compassion, and peace. We do have that religion or belief in common, and that church, that temple, lives inside of us, and that unites us no matter what our background is, no matter what our beliefs are. And I truly, truly love that. And then lastly, the Walk for Peace was far from political. Rather, it was just purely driven by compassion. The monks spoke about extending kindness to all people, regardless of backgrounds, and seeing the shared humanity in others. And a recurring theme throughout the entire pilgrimage was that the monks weren't bringing peace to others. They were just raising awareness so individuals could unlock the peace that is already within them. And so that's largely the gist of the practices that I learned from these incredible Buddhist monks. So now, hearing all of this, how do we start cultivating this incredible inner peace? How do we start cultivating our own inner peace? And so I'm going to pull the thread here on all the practices that we just discussed, and I'm going to sum it up like this. Try a daily affirmation, right? Today will be my peaceful day. Write it down at the beginning of every day and see how it can transform your life. Or mindfulness meditation. We could do some breath work, or we can even go out for a walk and we can feel every step that we take, just like the monks did. Or we could journal or close our eyes and quiet our minds by focusing on the sounds of a clock or a fan. Any of these practices, the major thing about them is that they give us the ability to quiet our minds and to be present in our now, because all of this opens our inner pathway to peace. And then, clean the mirror. Oh my gosh, I loved that one. Clean the mirror. Don't let life's difficulties build up so much that we lose sight of ourselves. Keep our hearts and our minds decluttered and let go. Or as the monk said it better, he said, don't record it. Let it go right away. And I think the last thing here is just honor each other's journey. We all get the gift of living our best lives. And even when it comes from a place of love, it's so important not to make our journey someone else's, or even for us to try to live someone else's journey with them. So instead, find peace in knowing that we are all on our own special and unique path. And the magic is allowing for our own paths to unfold just as they are intended to be. And so there you go. There you go. I think it's short and sweet today. And if you want, you know what? You can see my clip of these incredible monks heel-toe expressing it to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. by checking out my Instagram, because I'm at Joy-Filled Universe. And so there we go. Inner peace. It's not something that we need to create. It's something we need to uncover, and we need to allow it to flow from within us. Peace is cultivated through awareness, compassion, kindness, and disciplined, mindful living. The more we practice inner peace, the more we become aligned to abundant energy. And aligned energy brings intentional actions, and intentional actions will truly transform our lives. And that is a wrap for this week. And I hope that you found this episode to be helpful. And if you did, please do me a solid and rate, follow, share it with a friend, leave a review, or even just take a screenshot and share the episode on your social. All of this helps me out, and I am always super grateful for your support. So thank you. And on that note, I am your host, Lisa Ryan. This is the Joy-Filled Universe podcast, where we explore all the tools and tricks that are going to make your universe even more joyful than it already is. And I will see you next week. Bye.